And we know that inconsistency in the NBA is a nightmare.
We know Jerry West is, and the Lakers organization are very detailed in their scouting, so they must feel that he's got some potential, Rick.
Well, actually, I mean, I thought that they were going to go for a guard or perhaps a little bit of a shooter. This young man, again, they don't feel he doesn't know how really to play the game. He needs to be able to learn how to play the game of basketball. He has a reach, a wingspan 109 inches. So he obviously can do some things inside. He could probably have to get stronger. As you can see, he's just a little bit frail. But I'm really surprised that they went for a big man as opposed to going for a guard.
And we're still waiting for Houston to trade.
Yeah, right.
Who's looking like he's already building a house down in Houston. We'll be back with the second round right after this.
I'm Bob Knoll. My official title is Head of Auto Testing for Consumer Reports magazine, but I really work for you. Every year, my staff and I report on over 140 models, specifically with your needs in mind. So when you shop for a car, you'll know if it's safe and reliable, how it's equipped, how it performs, and whether it's cramped or comfortable. And there are over 200 people who work for you at Consumer Reports. We test and report on everything from toothpaste to TVs. And since Consumer Reports is nonprofit and accepts no advertising, we're able to give you the unbiased truth about products. Right now is a good time to try Consumer Reports because you can get a free trial issue with no strings attached. Here are the details.
Call now for your free trial issue of Consumer Reports. Learn how products compare, which give you the most value for your dollar, and which are best for your specific needs. Consumer Reports gives you information like which fast food lunch had the least fat, which VCR had the best picture quality, which oil filter best protects your car, which laundry detergent delivers what it promises, and which bank really helps the money pile up. Consumer Reports rating system compares products by brand name. You'll know who the reliable manufacturers are, which models have the features you want, plus all the pros and cons, including price. Call now for your free trial issue, then decide. When the bill arrives, pay it and get 11 more issues, 12 in all, including the annual buying guide issue, for just $20. Or write cancel on the bill and owe nothing. If you do subscribe, you'll also get 2 free gifts. The New Medicine Show, updated and revised, plus the 1990 buying guide issue.
And your paid subscription includes the annual auto issue with new car ratings, repair records, and crash test results. So put Consumer Reports to work for you. Call now.
Call 1-800-537-4800. 1-800-537-4800.
The first round of the 1990 NBA draft is history. Let's take a look at how it went. The first player, Derek Coleman, the power forward out of Syracuse to the New Jersey Nets. Gary Payton out of Oregon State to the Sonics. Chris Jackson from LSU to the Nuggets. There's Dennis Scott from Georgia Tech to Orlando, followed by Gill to the Hornets. Spencer, the first center selected, went to Minnesota. Bo Kimball from Loyola Marymount stays right out there on the West Coast with the L.A. Clippers. Ramil Robinson from Michigan went to Atlanta. Alec Kessler to the Houston Rockets, the power forward from the University of Georgia. Travis Mays went to the Sacramento Kings at number 14. Jamerson of Miami University to Miami, of Ohio University to Miami. Terry Mills to the Bucks. Gerard Mustoff, the early entry, went to New York. Dwayne Coswell, the center from Temple to Sacramento. Jason Williams went to the Phoenix Suns. He played at St. John's. He's the fellow who had the broken foot and the pin placed in his foot. Tate George, the guard, to the Nets. It was Dwayne Chinsis, lasting all the way to 24 from Florida. He went to the San Antonio Spurs. Ala Abdelnabi from Duke went to the Blazers. Blanks from Texas to the Pistons. And Clemson's Eldon Campbell was the last player selected and went to the Los Angeles Lakers. Now, here's the draft order, gentlemen. From the second round, Golden State will select again. Golden State took Tyrone Hill at number 11, and then it'll be Chicago. You can see the trade activity made a lot of changes there. So that's through 32. 33rd choice will be Utah. Through 37 to Washington. You see a lot of these positions swapping around. These are those trades that take place. One of them there you saw took place back in 87. Charlotte got the 39th pick in 88. 47th pick will go to Philadelphia. And on it goes into the second round until number 51, the Los Angeles Lakers, who will select last again, and that one one also came back from 1988. So we're ready to begin the second round, and Golden State, who went with Tyrone Hill, are ready to make a selection here. And Rod Thorne, who's the Vice President of Operations, will explain how things are going to go for the second round of the NBA draft.
If we're not selecting Dennis Scott with the second pick in the draft, Orlando conveys to Seattle a 1993 second-round draft pick and a 1995 second-round draft pick. Golden State will select first in the second round.
All right, we have up to 2 minutes here. Gentlemen, I got to get your comments on that one. Orlando trades 2 picks so Seattle won't take Dennis Scott, and I didn't think Seattle was going to take Dennis Scott anyway.
Well, I could have seen that maybe if Orlando would have done that with the Denver Nuggets. I think Seattle was very much in line to take
the point guard, Payton.
So in essence, they get the man they want, Payton, and a couple second-round draft picks. So nice smoke screen thrown out there by the Seattle Supersonics.
Bob Woodson, Bernie Bickerstaff, yeah, I mean, because I think Payton is just the perfect pick for them. However, maybe it was a situation where Orlando thought that they were going to deal Dale Ellis, which of course would have made Scott a very logical choice in the two positions. So anyway, Seattle picks up a couple extra draft picks there, and they came out real nice on that one.
Okay, the Warriors are coming up next. Any thoughts about what Don Nelson may have in his mind?
Who would know what Don Nelson
We didn't
is going
know
to do.
before, and we won't know now. Neither did anybody else. Atlanta even made a trade so they could select ahead of Don Nelson at 10 instead of 11.
Well, I think Don Nelson has somebody in mind at this pick because he made this move to get up ahead of these people. I think he wants a center. You know, you talk about their team, they need big people. Who they're looking out there. I think maybe Greg Foster might be a guy from Texas, El Paso, 6'10 and a half, shot blocker, guy can run, big, strong. But again, who knows what Nelly's going to do out there.
Marcus Liberty is still there. He's a young man, an early entry candidate from the University of Illinois. So Golden State will select next, followed by Chicago. That'll be the first Chicago selection tonight. There's some other teams that haven't selected, by the way, in case you've noticed, because of trades or one thing or another. Philadelphia didn't select yet. Washington will pick for the first time in the second round. Also, Indiana will pick in the second round. They have 2 picks down at 45 and 46. Dallas and Cleveland, those are all teams who did not have selections coming up in the first round. So now we're getting down to where the general managers really have their work cut out for them to select a player they think can make an NBA team. The chances drop drastically into the second round. Here's Rod Thorne.
Les Jepsen, University of Iowa. Chicago.
There's the big man, Les Jepsen from the University of Iowa. Jepsen is a 7-footer, averaged nearly 15 points a game. He's raw. Big improvement his senior year, however.
I think that maybe Don Nelson knew something about Chicago. I think the Chicago people like this Les Jepsen, an active, big player that they could have brought in. Bill Cartwright coming off knee surgery, very active, maybe to help along that front line. So maybe Nelly knew that Chicago was very interested in this young man right here to help bolster their front line. He's a kid who got better and better. He played in a very much of a pressing up-tempo style, a lot like Don Nelson likes to play, so he should be able to fit in out there and run like they like to run.
Yeah, obviously he's going to have to get some more strength, put on a little bit of weight. You can see how slight a build he is, but he is a player who improved dramatically from 4 points a game. He went all the way up to 15 points a game. His rebounds were best in his senior year. So, again, the big men of that size usually are projects, but he does show some promise.
So the Chicago Bulls, who plateaued a bit this year, not getting to the finals once again, will look to see how they can help with Jordan's support right after this.
The weather around here can get messy, so people protect their homes with Georgia Pacific building products. Our hardboard siding puts the toughest possible protection between a house and a downpour. And GP Summit Roofing can handle 30 years of weather guaranteed, from siding and roofing to molding and doors. Every GP product has superior performance built in. So when you're shopping for building materials, ask for GP. That's all you need to know.
Me and Joe were 2 of the most feared players in football. But now we want to try more peaceful pursuits, like fishing. We brought along some cold Miller Lite. The Light's not some watered-down version of a regular beer. It's a less filling beer that really tastes great.
You ready to try and catch a fish, Randy?
Okay, Joe, I'll go first.
Hey, fish! Get in the boat!
Boy, this fish is pretty easy.
It's no fish story. When it's Miller Lite, less filling tastes great.
Hey, that was too small.
Get out of here!
You're looking at some of the remaining audience here at the Javits Center in New York. Some of the folks after the Knicks picked headed for the expressways. Probably still some heavy traffic out there. There were about 3,000 here to start the 1990 NBA draft. We're now just about ready to begin the second round. Derek Coleman was the first pick in the first. Let's see who's going to be the first pick in the second round. Here's Rod Thorne.
With the second pick in the second round, the Chicago Bulls select Toni Kukoč from Yugoplastica Split. Miami will pick third.
Well, there you go, Toni Kukoč. We talked about him earlier. We understand, by the way, from our Goodwill Game staff that the Yugoslavian pronunciation, as Tony says it, is Kukoč, as though it was C-O-A-C-H, in case you're wondering about that spelling. A great shooter, and they say that he's a man who his ball handling skills question, but that he's a man who can create his own shot. He's 6'9".
Well, the Chicago Bulls always want to put around Michael Jordan guys that can shoot the basketball. You're going to see here great anticipation. He can put the ball on the floor. When you talk about their needs, they needed a backup guard for Michael Jordan. They got that in Hobson, and now if they can get this young man, this guy could give Scottie Pippen some help at the small forward position. So if they can entice this young man to come over and play in the United States, now they've added Hobson and this kid, and he has an experience, so it could be a very big boost to them.
I know what I want to be. I want to be the lawyer for the Bulls, because you're going to have court situations oftentimes with the international players. Ask the Boston Celtics last year, and Toni Kukoč does have time left on his Yugoplastica Split contract there, so that's still a question. It's a gamble when you select that player from the Yugoslavian League.
Yeah, not that many of them have made it over, and those that have, there have been a few who have been pretty, fairly successful. But I think of all of the foreign players who are playing now in the NBA, that this young man has the potential to be the best of them.
All right, we're going to go now to Craig Sager and Steve Jones, our colleagues who've been covering this draft with us, to find out what your thoughts are at the conclusion of the first round. Craig, Steve?
Well, I don't know if Toni Kukoč is watching us or not, but he said he didn't know if he wanted to play in the NBA. But now, hey, here's your chance to play with Michael Jordan, the greatest player in the world. What do you think? Do you think that'll change his mind?
That may influence him some. I think a lot more that will influence will be the dollars that he could get. The thing that's impressed me most, Craig, about this draft so far has been the class that the players have exhibited. There's been a lot of anxiety for all of them, but they've handled themselves extremely well. I think that all of the teams have done their work on them. They've got a real good group of people coming out this year. It ought to be excellent for us.
That even goes for Dwayne Shincius. He came up here and handled himself very well.
He had a very, very tough time. I mean, New York always finds one player to treat very tough. A couple of years ago it was Trent Tucker, and now we come back and it is Dwayne, and Dwayne was back. Every time we had a picture of him, they booed him, and yet through it all, he maintained his poise and presence, and he's going to a very good team.
Shincius to San Antonio, I think they'll like him there.
I think that they will. I think, the hair goes with the cowboy boots. What do you think? All right.
Let's go back to Bob Neal. Bob?
All right, I'm interested in finding out Rick Barry and Doug Collins' thoughts also as the first round has now come to a close. We said at the beginning of the program tonight, solid but not spectacular. I'd say that's the way it's gone in terms even of the reaction of the crowd and some of the teams.
Well, I think that it went pretty much according to the way we felt it would go. Mostly shooters in the first portion of the draft. I think that Minnesota going big instead of small in number 6 kind of changed things around for a number of people. Probably the biggest surprise, and certainly we're still waiting for Doug for that trade to happen, was when Houston picked at number 12 and came up with Alec Kessler. We still can't figure out that particular move, although he's a fine talent and a good prospect. Doug?
Well, I think that there's still going to be some things happening here tonight, Rick. I think Rod Thorne's ready to make the next pick.
Exactly, and we'll come back and get Doug's thoughts right after that.
With the third pick in the second round, the Miami Heat selects Carl Herrera, University of Houston. Phoenix selects next.
All right, Carl Herrera, a highly regarded player, 6'9". Carl Herrera at one time was a very big volleyball prospect. He was born in Caracas, Venezuela. He is an early entry also. See, he needs to add some size, meaning some meat to his frame, but Carl Herrera reminds Marty Blake, the NBA director of scouting, he said, of a young Bob McAdoo in the fact that he has good movement and he's a live player.
Well, I'm sure they'd like to have half of a Bob McAdoo down there, because Bob McAdoo was a tremendous scorer and, led the NBA for many years in scoring. But, now as we get down, now teams are going to start making selections that they think are going to be able to help their team, or maybe the best talent they feel is left available. This guy has talent.
All right, let's go back to your thoughts on the first round before we continue with this second round. And that is, Rick stated that those young guns win early. Any surprises to you besides the one we joked about with Houston?